we have for you an absolute legend of the sport in jiu-jitsu here in Australia. I'm not sure why we've taken so long to get this man on the show, possibly because we were still practicing until we're ready to accept someone of this high status and amazing jiu-jitsu legend, Mr. Marcelino Freitas. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thanks to remind about me. Yeah.
So
thank you.
You are absolute. Anybody who maybe is unaware of, just give a little bit of a background about you. You're a world champion, 1998 blue, 2000 purple, 2002 brown, Brazilian national champion, 1996 orange, 99 blue, 2001 brown, 2002, 2006, and 2008 black. Brazilian national team champion 1998, 2000, 2002, 2003, and Pan American second place 2010. So, and as you said, fifth degree black belt. So I think possibly our highest rank that we've ever had as a guest on this show.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, man.
I think in Australia I'm the youngest 50 degree. Yeah, because when I got my black belt, I was 20 years old. So I'm 40 now at the moment. Yeah, so it's like 20 years as a black belt. Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. So what drives you to, we actually have a guy probably similar to you in our club, Cooper Burnham. He's like, I think he got his black belt at 20 or 21. And he is just, he's on the same kind of path as you, highly competitive. For him, I think a lot of it's to do with the support of his family. But what's your story? Like, how did you end up achieving so much at such a young age? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. All right, so I started jiu-jitsu in 1994 in Brazil, Rio. So I grew up in a community, like in Brazil, we have a lot of communities, like a lot of people call favelas, but it's not like favelas, like hills. And so I grew up in a very humble family. Like my parents never went to school or all this type of thing. So my parents had like 9 kids. I was the last one, and I have one of my old brother. He used to love the Bruce Lee stuff, and then he was really into martial arts. And he did a capoeira back in the day in Brazil. Something I regret, because I did in capoeira. Probably my jiu-jitsu could have been much better with the capoeira.
Cool.
And they had one guy in our community. He was doing jiu-jitsu. I don't know how he started there, but for influence of this guy, my brother started training. So, but my brother started way before than me. So he tried putting me that time in jiu-jitsu, but I was not I didn't want. I was a young kid, walk around with my friends in the community, and then I never liked that. And past few years, my brother, my coach Andre, is open a type of a bottle shop near the gym, and my brother used to work for him. And I started to go with my brother to work there, get some cash back in the day. And after my brother finished his work, he used to go to the gym. It was just across the road, and I used to go for him. And then from there, used to sit in there and then watch the training. And then any jiu-jitsu club, pretty much almost jiu-jitsu club is like that. They have their friendship between, the members, people joke around, very friendly. So I like the environment there. And so I was going for maybe 2 months every day, watch the training. Till one day, a guy who used to live at the gym, he gave me a second-hand gear. He gave me second-hand gear. And the next day I start. And everything now is just history. So yeah, it was it was pretty much like that. And because my coach, he's still the same way. He's still a guy who help a lot of people in Brazil. I was the guy never pay membership. So, and then, that was pretty good, because if I have to pay membership, I'll probably not be able, my parents are they don't have money to pay for that. So I was a guy, I was very lucky to be in the same neighborhood where I grew up. and then have a coach like that who, you know, support me since day one to now. Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. That's an amazing story.
And Marcelino, what was it like growing up in the favelas? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I mean, like, it's quite rough. You know what I mean? One side is pretty good. Like we grow up, if we have a lot of friends, like community, you know what I mean? You just open your door, go outside, and people open the door, and you just play. But at the same time, in Rio, I don't know if you guys see it a lot. They have a lot of dogs you can find, but in Rio, it's like 100 off of that. You know what I mean? And that's the perfect place for the drug dealers. You know, place they sell there. So yeah, you grow up like in place like there, seeing a lot of stuff. People in Australia don't have idea.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, and a lot, couple friends, like good friends of mine, you know, they starting to go to the wrong side, and eventually, you know, it's not like the best place to be. And yeah, I see a lot of things. Like I don't want to go. It's quite heavy, but it's quite tough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then some communities is like it's mine was not big, but still have that type of thing. But they have some community like you see a lot of this stuff. It like you know, you get used. Sometimes you see kids who grow up in a war zone, like example, kids who's now in Ukraine now at the moment. You know what I mean? They're gonna get used to the sound of bombs some stage. Probably the first time they're gonna like, oh, all right. They probably the first time they hear, they're gonna get scared. But eventually past days, weeks, a month, that thing is just was pretty much like that.
Yeah.
But I think if I come back now in Brazil or live again in some place like that, I'm probably not gonna be the same. Because Australia is like, you know, first world country. It's pretty safe, by the way. Yeah.
And what impact do you think jiu-jitsu had on like your direction in life? Like, do you think that were you a good kid, or did you have the potential to kind of go off the rails? Like do you think that jiu-jitsu played a part in giving you a course in life?
I come from like I told before, like my parents didn't went to school, but they give us like a good education. You know what I mean? Like I can say like from my, you know, we 9, you know, like I had like 5 sisters and all the 3 brothers, me, 4. And I was lucky, grew up in a good family. I used to have my old brother sometimes. He used to see me in the street and he used to almost say, go home. You know what I mean? He used to like pretty much see where I was, and he used to always send me home. Like, you know, like, oh, it's too late now, and he send me home.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was like to, you know, from the family, and I was never like a troublemaker, nothing like that. But you know, the amazing thing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, the amazing thing about the jiu-jitsu is like you see sometimes students when they train and they say, oh, when I go home I just keep think like about the training, I drive around. And then so when I started jiu-jitsu, like I just couldn't think about all the stuff, just jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So just like finish my training, say, I want to be there next day. I was very you know what I mean? So I could train it every day, like twice a day. And I was like, I just want to be there every day. You know what I mean? Like the environment was pretty good. So, and then, little by little, I didn't like leave my friends, and then I eventually, you know, I had a lot, I had all the group to hang out. You know what I mean?
A different set of friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask you was, I read Opening the Closed Guard by Robert Drysdale, as well as Hicks and Gracie's Breathe book. And what came out to me was it seemed that jiu-jitsu was much more for wealthy people with the Gracies. How was it for you coming from maybe a non-wealthy background at that time? Like, how was it coming up through the ranks in Brazil?
Oh, yeah. So when I started, I was 94. All right. And then that was, I was probably was the year when they created the Confederation Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and they become the IBJJF. So that year, so Jiu Jitsu was going like growing a lot that time. So, and my coach, he was a guy who had like a different mentality. You know what I mean? Like he was a guy who I was like help, just not me from my community, but all the kids from all the communities as well.
Mm.
And that time, it was the time we come to Tererê as well. You know, Tererê coming from another community too. So I couldn't see in my, like, you remember, like back in the day when I used to go to the gym, like a lot of the guys, they come from good family. They become like, end up being doctors and, you know, and lawyers and yeah, whole type of things. I couldn't see it. Like jiu-jitsu was not a cheap thing. And not from people coming from like a poor background. You know what I mean? But the things change, you know, with the pass of the years. And then there's more people starting like open more like you know, like jiu-jitsu projects from, you know, from the community, and you're starting, how can I say when you don't pay the fees is
like sponsorship or a scholarship?
Yeah, yeah, a little like a sponsorship, and you know, you do some exchange, and I mean, like you clean the mats, you do something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do some classes. But yeah, I could see like when I started in '94, I'm not saying it's a rich sport, but it was going that way. Probably early days in the '80s, probably, yeah, no way it was a sport too. I think more capoeira was more like was more open up from other people too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's an interesting point, man. You mentioned that you regret not kind of doing more capoeira. Like, how does capoeira help jiu-jitsu? Because that's not something I hear very often. I know our coach, Tiago, really did enjoy taking on some capoeira for a while there. So he saw the value, but like, yeah, to me, they seem unlinked. So how are they linked together?
I depend on the style, but I think a lot of sports can help jiu-jitsu. Like I think gymnastics, you know, you get the whole like not the athletic, that core, you know, like the explosion. Capoeira, like if you watch like a good capoeira, like the move they do, the flexibility, you know me. I can't do a black flip, you know, something I regret. You know, it'd be cool, like pass a guy, you know, pass somebody's guy doing like a back flip.
Yeah.
It's like wrestling as well. Wrestling is amazing for jiu-jitsu. I ask all my students, like, man, you know, you don't need to be like, it's tough. It's you know, jiu-jitsu easy compared to wrestling, but it's something, if you don't need to be like you wrestle all the time, but if you learn some techniques, like they're gonna improve so much your game in jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think capoeira is very similar too in their athletic, you know, not defensive moves, but like, yeah, you'll be more agile and, you know,
and smooth,
more explosive as well. Yeah.
And your competition record is amazing. What do you think sort of makes someone a good competitor? What makes the best of the best? What's the difference between like an average and then a top level competitor?
Look myself now, like I have a little regret. Like I could do better. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was lucky to grow up in a club where that time it had like amazing black belts. You know what I mean? That was the one positive thing. Like I have like so many good names, like Robson Moura, his Hall of Fame, you know, Vitor Shaolin, and then, you know, BJ Penn, like all these guys was that time. And we have like a massive team like that. And hard work. Like I was that time, I have to drop the school. So I'll tell this to people. So I started training jiu-jitsu, and then I was studying, you know, like, and the same time I have to work to, you know, I mean, my parents, they don't have the money to give to me buy stuff. So I have to make my own money. And I had three things, you know, and then I don't have at the time. So I have to take one. And I was like, all right, the work, I needed the money. And then jiu-jitsu is something I really love now. And then ends up in like, dropped the school. But earlier, years later, I come back and finish. But I dropped there, and then I was really training like twice a day, pretty much 2 sessions a day. Something looking now is completely like dumb. You can do, but like not the intensity we used to do back in the day.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of people look to the competition sometimes like, oh, everybody train, you know what I mean? Everybody like, oh, can maybe go to the gym or supplements or whole, have a lot of things or have a good coach or have a good teammates. But I think the mental side is very important too. You see a lot of talent people sometimes in old gene or new gene. You're like, man, this guy's amazing. But when they step on the mat, like he pretty much loses like 70% of what he knows. You know what I mean? I think if you have like a strong like mental side on a competition, and plus the technique, and then the hard work, and then that's combine everything, you can be very successful. Because I remember when I got my black belt very young, I was my early days, like the first 2 years, I used to always get like like in the finals of the tournament. But I always have someone with more experience, and I used to always lose for little details. And the little detail was that guy have like more experience. His mind was a little bit more sharp than mine at the time, and it was something I started to understand later on. And yeah, so and then I started to work from there. But
So,
yeah, it's very important. Like you work your mental side as well if you want to be a good competitor.
yeah. So the mental side for you is about like experience. Is that kind of what I'm picking up out of that? Is that what you look to? It's like, I have more experience, I'm going to win. That's how you go into your comps. Is that your mindset?
Yeah, it's like I mean, I started very young, like 12. I was 12 years old, so I passed for all the type like juvenile, like before the juvenile, and my coach used to also say, compete more as you can. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter win or lose. You need to compete. Because, like you like starting to get better when you get it as adult. But when you get as adult division, you're already like they have the whole the knowledge. So nowadays, a lot of people say, oh man, these purple belts this day, they can be the black belts. They have a reason for that. You know what I mean? Back in the day, you could compete as a 15 years old as adult. You can do this like official competition. You can you could go to the world championship as a 15-year-old and compete as adult. So they changed the rules a few years ago, holding all these kids more 2 years of juvenile. So when they finish the juvenile division, 100%, they spend like 2 years of blue belt plus few years as like young kids in the whole color belts. Like, when they get to the purple belt, yeah, for sure, he's pretty much like a brown and black. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that experience helps a lot. That's why the people say the level now is so high because of that. You know what I mean? And sometimes you see a kid is very like 16 years old, but he easily could be like a purple belt or even a brown belt, but they need to hold him for more 2 years to let him go later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thanks,
And
man.
I believe when you were a juvenile, when you were 12, 13 years old, Marcelino, you started training with the adults. You stopped doing the kids classes and went straight into the adult classes. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I started in my first year as a kid in the kids class. And because my brothers, I was in adult class, I started the next year starting, going there. Till one day, I don't remember if I got invited or myself would just walk in and just. So I was, you study pretty much the 1 month. You know what I mean? Sometimes in my club, sometimes coming some parents like, oh, I want to put in my kids, but in that age, I say, no, just let it come with the adults. It's fine. Oh, but he don't have that's it. That's not the more important thing. You know what I mean? So that time I was warm up like with the the old guys there, but I was absorbing a lot. You know what I mean? So I was absorbing a lot. I don't have the strength, but I and I learning techniques because people was always nice to you. They they always share with stuff for you. Especially if if you think you're interesting, they're always going to share techniques to you. I think that's a more important thing. And eventually, you know, little by little, we're starting to get a little bit more strength, you know, and then when you see it, you're part of that group too. So with the kids, like in my gym, what I ask for that is just like mix it up a little bit. Don't just leave the kids class and you go straight to adult, but do one kids class and do one adult class. You know what I mean? So in adult class, you know, you're gonna do all that part of the warm up, the drills, and then you're gonna roll for all the, you know, high belts. They, you know what I mean? They're gonna put you in like in a comfortable position, but you're not eventually gonna like smash you, but they're gonna roll it for you, and you're gonna see things you don't see in the kids class. And it's very beneficial if you have like a good club and people can go that way.
Makes good sense, man. Makes real good sense. And what about like, how did you end up in Australia? Because you're in Noble Park, right, in Melbourne. So
yeah.
How did you end up here?
So my coach Andrea, he have a lot of connections. Like he was very famous. He's very famous, and you know he have students around the world. And then I was 2010 when I came. They had an offer to work in the club here, and they offer for a lot of guys at the gym, and then no one's want to come. And then he came and he called me. He gave me a call and he said, "Marcelino, have this opportunity to go to Australia, and I've been there before. It's a good place." And then because Andrea was a guy, you know, I know he's a little boy, and it's like it's a father for me, so I trust a lot and everything. And then when he said you should go, I didn't think twice. You know, say, all right, I'll take it. So yeah, so I came here 2010, and then took a little bit. I could have arrived a little before because of visa stuff. Because that time, you know, like they want to come as a student, but like I don't fit in a student way because of my background. Like for you leave Brazil, like I think any other countries, like you need to show something can hold you back. You know what I mean? If your family have money or if you're gonna coming back. So I don't have a nothing for that. You know what I mean? So and then it was lucky to come like on a work visa. And then, yeah, so, and then I worked in this club for 3.5 years. And then I moved to Noble Park. So I'm still there till now. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. I come like, sorry.
You can ask.
No, you can go.
I was just going to ask, like, what do you think makes like a good competitive team? Like you've got a very good competitive competition background, competition history. What do you think makes like the team sort of atmosphere to be good?
Yeah, like, you know, your coaching, pushing the students, like the student be interesting to compete as well. I think it's a mix of both. You know what I mean? I'm a type of guy, like, I never like, the way I started jiu-jitsu was like, they try putting me in jiu-jitsu, pushing me, you know what I mean? And I say, I don't want to go. I don't work like that, you know what I mean? So I walk on my, you know, on my own, like, all right, now it's time to try, I will try. And in the competition, sometimes I don't like to push my students, you know what I mean? I want to feel from that. Sometimes I go like, oh, that competition, oh, I don't say, oh, you should go, or everyone should sign up, or let's go. So I want to be from the students if they want to compete or not. But I think if you are competing, you can push in your students well. You know what I mean? Like if the coach decides to compete and everybody gonna see the coach competing, and then plus you have you have a competition class in your schedule, and yeah, it's quite complicated because I'm a guy, I don't push much my I was a competitor, like full competitor, because I come from a club they have that culture. You know what I mean? You compete to get the points, and the points go, you know, if you're making more points, you get the trophy. And then look, now I have a totally different ideas of that. So I try to look person by person. I don't look as a big team. You know what I mean? So I want to because not everyone wants to compete. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I'm a little bit different the way I started now. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But yeah, I think the coach pushing, the student interested to compete, and then you run it like a proper class for competition. That's gonna make like I think a good team.
Yeah, man.
And then it's not secret. More you compete, more you understand where you're going. And every competition you're gonna learn something new, and that's gonna make you like you even better. Like I said before, my coach also pushes us to compete. It doesn't matter about the result, but you need to get the experience. Sometimes if you're like, all right, I compete once a year or twice a year, that's not gonna make like you a full competitor. You know what I mean? So it's a shame here in Victoria we don't have as much competition where we have in other states. You know what I mean? We have like amazing good competitor here, but all calendar here it's not great. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So if you see the calendar for New South Wales or Queensland, they run competition all the time. And here we rely on just Victoria or nationals and all the small comps, you know what I mean?
Why is that, man? Why does our state, I mean, it just seems like when we've got the IS BJJ here, etc., why do we have less comps in Victoria?
Wow. They should ask you head day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a conversation with people who work there and you always give, ideas like, oh, you should have run more competition. You should have a competition just for kids, you know what I mean? Like make a wing, it's just a big competition for kids. Or maybe separate the season, you know what I mean? Like you separate the gi season from the, like IBJJF have a little bit of that, you know what I mean? From Jan to June, they have like the gi season, where they have like the European, Pan Ams, Brazilian nationals in the worlds, and then after they start in the Nogi season. I think they should do something very similar, and you can put in more competitions and the club supports as well. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things. Like not a lot of people want to work as a referee as well. I think every club should have someone responsible to work there. It's a tough job, and people sometimes don't want to go. You know what I mean? Like it's
And what do you think? I've asked this of many of our guests. What do you think about the gi versus no gi in the future for jiu-jitsu?
I think the gi is gonna be here.
Yeah.
It'd be Aussie. A good example is like why wrestling is not big in Australia. Because it's a tough sport. I did wrestling a lot when I was training for MMA, and then it's not an easy sport. And then no gi pace is very going that way. You know what I mean? Like it's not everyone gonna be able to roll in that way crazy. You know what I mean? Like, but I think the gi is gonna be here, and I don't think you can see the gi going a different way. You know what I mean? Like, but like every gym should have a buff. I don't think you should have just focus. It depends. Everyone's like, some people focus on one and another, but yeah, I believe it. Yeah, the gi is always gonna be here because not everyone can go in that pace of no gi as well. You know what I mean?
No one's
it's
ever
more like it's more strength, it's more technical too, but like the pace is a little bit different than the gi.
Man, I no one's ever actually said that. Like we do ask that a lot of guests, and most people have their various views, but no, I'm getting that from myself right now that this is becoming more and more like wrestling. It's a really hard sport, no gi. Certainly not for everybody. It's good to train it, but competing in no gi is a whole different ball game. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the gi forever, as well. Like I like both, but
it's like me, like starting as 12, I'm 40 now. Like I want to still keep it going. I want to, try to look after myself a lot because I want to train as far as I can. You know what I mean? I think it's still a long way. And then more and more, I started like think about the way I train. You know what I mean? Like I train less now than I used to train before. I don't train more twice a day, never anymore. If I feel like now I pretty much training like 3-4 times a week. So if I feel like I'm not good, like I have a break. You know what I mean? So you want to keep it going, like different all this like martial arts, like you can like boxing all your life. You can, you know, do some pads and everything, but you can box whole time. You know what I mean? Like it, and I think it's some. I'm not saying Nogi go the way, because you can still roll in Nogi, you know, for a long time. But I don't see like they're gonna have this big difference like in gi and Nogi. I think everything's becoming trained in jiu-jitsu and going back. You know, legs come, legs go back. Close guard come, close guard come back. Just need someone to make something, make trend, and then go back again. So
it's fashion.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. There's jiu-jitsu fashion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everybody's talk about old and new. I say I'm not part of old. I don't part of new. I'm part of jiu-jitsu. I'm here. You know what I mean? I got a little bit off of there, a little bit off of here. So yeah, I think that's what should be the way. Not separate all sport. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I think all sport should be like that. You know, I hate when people try to separate. Like, you know, are you old school? No, I'm not. I'm part of the jiu-jitsu. I'm still going. You know what I mean? So you're new jiu-jitsu. It's like, nah, it's the whole the same. You know what I mean? You just need to like have an open mind. That's the more important. Open mind, and they just, you know, and it's make that separation. You know what I mean?
That's it.
You're amazing, man.
You know, making them stop the separation. You know.
So many good jiu-jitsu podcast names, not the name of the podcast, but the name of this episode coming to mind for me as you speak, man. You've got some great views, man. And, you know, I just love it. I love it. If someone hadn't given you a secondhand gi, you wouldn't be here today, most likely, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And you wouldn't achieve the things that you're going to achieve, and you're not part of the old school and you're not part of the new school, man. You know, you're a great human being, brother, and a huge contribution.
No, yeah, like it's the same. I talk a lot of my students. I saw a lot of things online. I'm not a person to go online and like I hate that. You know what I mean? One time a guy had a problem with me. He started calling me a lot of big names from the internet. Say, man, I want to meet you face to face. Went there and he come, he's shaking my hand, nice and soft. We started to talk, and that's the way. All right, you know what I mean? And then so I pretty much like that. So when people say, "Oh, politics in jiu-jitsu," and it was usually when people say politics in jiu-jitsu, is the people who make the dramas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So try to say I was away from the drama. I look at the dramas all the time. I say, yeah, that's the drama there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't see politics. I think, you know, like have different clubs, you know, like you can find like this guy do this guy, and then have space for everyone. You know what I mean? So when you walk to that door, and then you have a few classes there, you understand where you are. You know what I mean? So you should be happy, and that's it. You know what I mean? Not make drama. I don't think it's this politics. You go there, walk it there, you sign the wave. It's like you agree with it there. So you know what I mean? You shouldn't don't complain about that.
Yeah.
So I respect everyone. People make their rules. It's fair enough. I don't have a rules. I just make mine. Whatever, you know. More important, we like just, you know, be on a mat, trainee, and then, you know, as far as you can. And you're just a lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle. It's about you know, you look after your health. You know what I mean? You have a way to socialize with your friends, and competition and who's better. This is a different. It's not the more important thing. You know what I mean? It's not the more important thing.
What a brilliant.
That's probably a beautiful place to finish up, because we are nearly out of time. But thank you once again, Marcelino, for giving up your time.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story. We'll have this out. If you could share it, I know you don't do social media much, but if you can possibly share with
I
students,
will.
We would love to.
People don't see me talk much, but they probably can understand a little bit about me.
Oh, very good.
Because sometimes when people see me, they judge me a little bit different. I'm just a quiet person. That's it. But,
no, fantastic! It was fantastic. Thank you once again. It's amazing, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, I'll be around. Yeah.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya. Bye bye.